Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we are back again with another Alliance War video, the Season 20 War 4, and we are going up against New Nation. And New Nation is a very good war alliance. I think they have been in top 3 in past, and they are definitely solid, kind of like top 5, top 10 Masters level alliance. And yeah, they are very good. So this war has to be taken extremely seriously. Uh, Big boosts or relatively big boost, always make sure that the fight is kind of like solid, covered, practiced for. And well, here the first one I'm using rank 3 Dr. Doom against the Hyperion, so I knew it's gonna be very simple. I'm gonna steal his power gain buffs and have class advantage, and mine Doom is rank 3, he's just a 5-star, so I didn't put on the biggest boost, but throughout the entire war I'm pretty much boosting extremely hard. And yeah, so for this war I am on path 3 in section 1 and path 1 in section 2, I think. And so yeah, first fight is Hyperion against Dr. Doom. Nothing too stressful, nothing too tricky here. He has that Mystic Ward up where he has like 95% resistance to nullify, but obviously Dr. Doom has staggers as well, and that bypasses it. And addition to that, he had a big armor node, but with the incinerate buffs and everything else, Dr. Doom got him down extremely kind of like safely, and safely but surely, I guess you could say. And further on now we can see that this was my only fight in section 1, but in section 2 I'm doing this kind of like initial warm-up fight. That's the EMP modification brute force, and in this case it's Moleman. And I wasn't originally scheduled to take this guy, but I ended up taking him. So long story short, I went in and I did a duel or two before, just to make sure that everything will go kind of like well enough. And Moleman is shock immune, and obviously he shrugs off all of the debuffs I'm trying to place on him. This isn't like quite standard Dr. Doom fight, but obviously Dr. Doom is still such a beefy tank. I'm just going to take as many hits in a block as I have to, because he can definitely do that. And for most part, I'm just going to try and play kind of like a safe. You can see nothing fancy at all, just block betting heavy attacks and trying not to trigger stubborn. And at some point here, I am going to drop my level 2 as soon as he enters that rage mode, that damage mode where every hit is a guaranteed crit. So at this point I had to be extremely careful, but that level 2 did a good number on him. I drop another level 1, he's nearly down, and when he's at 1% I drop a level 2, which is definitely an overkill. But the job's done, and that's the main thing, because yeah, this is extremely close war at this point as well. I think the difference there is within a couple of deaths, and everybody has to play their best basically. Now I'm going to be going up against Mephisto with this Vigor and Indomitable node, or whatever, however you pronounce it. And obviously Void is a really good counter to Mephisto, because he's not only Incinerate immune, so I can kind of ignore that aura. He can also slow down and later on in the fight reverse the Mephisto's power gain, so I can 100% fully ignore that aura. Now I cannot reverse his healing, but that's not a big deal. I can at least make sure it doesn't come into play at all throughout the fight. I start off the fight with 2 petrify buffs, which is extremely lucky, which is pretty much perfect for most fights where you want to use Void in war. And now I have 3 different debuffs active, so he's taking a solid amount of damage over time with my boosts active and all that. It comes out as like 600 per tick, so over 1000 damage per second for Void just doing absolutely nothing. Now that was not the best play there with my level 1. I probably should have saved it for a bit later, but the fight's under control. I didn't have much to stress about, so I didn't kind of pay too much attention to that. And now I just need to close it out. He has his regen act too, but obviously that's been negated, and he is pretty much down at this point. So this was a very kind of like easy fight with Void, very simple, kind of classic Void matchup. Now the next fight is going to be quite a bit trickier, because first of all it's Tigra, and Tigra is a dodgy opponent in the best of days, because her special attacks take so much space on the map, and that entire matchup is pretty much all about spacing. And she has like a massive buffet node active here as well, which is the main reason why I'm using a Red Guardian now, because obviously Red Guardian cannot gain any buffs at all, so he absolutely 100% ignores and bypasses buffet node. Now I did get spanked a bit there a couple of times, did make a small mistake, but all is good. It didn't do too much damage to me, and I recovered well enough. And at this point, unfortunately, she doesn't want to throw her level 1, and the fight is kind of like going sideways slightly, because yeah, you definitely don't want to be in corner against Tigra. And I wanted to bait out Tigra's level 1 instead of level 2, mainly because it's just a lot easier to kind of control now. I am relatively comfortable dexing back from that level 2 that she throws, but again, it takes so much more space, and it's kind of a bit trickier, a bit riskier, and I just wanted to play it as safe as possible. But here at this point I just drop like a level 2, and that pretty much immediately closes out the fight, because Red Guardian's level 2 definitely packs some decent amount of damage. And now we're going to be going up against Colossus, which unfortunately is going to be my last fight in this war. I was scheduled to take another fight, but I was waiting forever for that Colossus to get unlinked, and other teammates had to get going, so somebody else took that mini boss with their Dr. Doom, whilst I was kind of like stuck behind this Colossus and waiting for it to get unlinked. Now, at this point, I was considering which champion to bring in. I know Dr. Doom could and would do this fight well enough as well, but I will opt to go in with Red Guardian. Actually, at this point I was still kind of like pondering which one do I want to take in, but yeah, I'm gonna simply take in Red Guardian due to the fact that Colossus is a simple fight, and if I can 100% absolutely ignore the buffet node, it should be extremely straightforward, super simple fight. And it's gonna take time. It's not gonna be the quickest fight by no means, but here I make a mistake. I shouldn't have dropped my second heavy attack that quickly on. I should have dropped one heavy attack and then kind of like went for level 1, because I already got that power suppression node there active on me, and that means I'm gonna get these power drain debuffs. And somewhere here at this point I just go, well, the hell with them then. I'm just gonna play with no power for the rest of the fight, because I don't really need to. Obviously getting to that level 2 would have been nice and would let me finish out the fight a lot quicker, but I kind of went the safe and steady route. And at this point, yeah, I just completely ignored that node. I also want to say that I personally believe this hit counter nodes, and we have a couple of them, they're absolutely atrocious and horrible design for a node. I think pretty much everybody hates them, and almost everybody always ends up ignoring them and just playing either without power or letting opponents build fury buffs or whatever, because they are too finicky to keep a track on. And the fact that you cannot get rid of those passives in any way, shape or form once you have built them up is just, I don't know, it seems kind of intuitive. So I don't know, I just think it's extremely poor node design. I don't think it's like the hardest or the worst node, it's just annoying, unpleasant node that does not do anybody like any favors. So at some point during this fight I decided to let that slow debuff drop down from Colossus in order not to give him that willpower heal, because I don't really need it here. He doesn't go unstoppable. He doesn't evade my attacks, and yes, I lose some damage if I choose to use my heavy attacks, but for most part I'm just using random regular combos. Now here's actually going to be one really trippy part which I had completely kind of forgotten about. Colossus gains 200% increased power gain rate if his ability accuracy reduction goes below intended one, if his ability accuracy gets reduced. An assassin does that, and it almost caught me here. So that was definitely kind of like a sketchy moment when I realized in the very last minute that, whoa, he nearly got 3 bars of power. But yeah, that is it for this fight. It's kind of like very simple, very standard, basic fight, and this was my last fight for the war. And luckily, we did end up winning this war against New Nation. Definitely very well played. The guys in New Nation had a bit rougher start, and they died like a bunch of times early on, and that kind of like let us play a bit easier. But then they closed out like last 100 nodes with like 1 or 2 deaths. So they really shook themselves, put themselves together, and closed out the war extremely solid, and that made it really close as well. But yeah, that would take ASR now to 3-1 in the season. Not the greatest start, not perfect start, but good enough. And hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit all the good buttons, and I'm gonna catch you guys soon. See ya.